Welcome, everyone. Our mission today is to journey deep into a world of profound wisdom, where ancient poetry can unlock really surprising insights into our daily lives, our deepest struggles, even.
That's right. We're diving into Rumi's timeless masterpiece,
Hmm.
the Masnavi, Book One, which is just, well, it's a treasure trove of spiritual insights.
It really is. And this deep dive, we're going to unpack a very specific, vivid narrative from Rumi's work.
Yeah, a compelling tale. It involves a supremely generous caliph, a poor Bedouin couple, and a journey that's much more than just physical travel.
Exactly. So our goal here is to extract that rich tapestry of spiritual lessons, the symbols, the metaphors woven into this captivating story.
And we really want to connect Rumi's poetic genius directly to your personal understanding and hopefully real-world application. Get ready for some profound aha moments, I think.
I think so too. Okay, let's unpack this then. Our story opens with this magnificent figure, a caliph. Rumi paints him as a symbol of just boundless generosity. He describes him as God's own giving hand, whose gifts make oceans quake. I mean, he's even hailed as superior to Hatem Tai.
Who was already legendary for generosity, right? So that sets the bar incredibly high.
It really does. It signifies generosity beyond human measure, and news of his munificence spreads across nations. Persians, Greeks, Arabs, Turks are amazed. He's called Water of Life.
And a sea of kindness through whom all humans were soon born anew. It's such a powerful opening. What's the very first thing that strikes you about that? What's Rumi immediately telling us?
Well, it's that setting the bar you mentioned. It's extraordinary. True generosity isn't just material stuff.
Exactly. It's not just gifts. It's this spiritual abundance that genuinely transforms lives, makes people feel born anew, as Rumi says. This caliph, he represents a kind of divine archetype of giving, almost mythical.
Yeah, mythical is a good word, but then this grand image is immediately contrasted with something very human, very poignant.
Right, a struggle. That sets up the core tension, I think, for this whole section we're looking at.
And that struggle comes to life with our next characters. A Bedouin and his, well, weary wife. Their situation feels heartbreakingly real. Mm. The wife's lament is so vivid, it's almost painful to read. We always have to suffer and be poor, the rest rejoice while you and I endure.
We have no bread, just jealousy and pain. We have no water, tears replace the rain. It's just raw.
So raw. And she even describes reaching for the moon, imagining the moon's a wholesome pie. That detail.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? And the desperation goes even further. She says, if a guest came while he's asleep, I'd take his coat away.
It shows it's not just physical lack, it's a deep psychological portrait Rumi's painting.
Precisely. This isn't just a tale of physical poverty. It's this profound depiction of how deep deprivation can really twist your perception.
Yeah.
It leads to shame, isolation, even drives these desperate, hypothetical acts. The wife's words are just unvarnished. They show that inner turmoil that material lack creates.
Rumi really wants us to feel that contrast, doesn't he? Between the caliph's boundless generosity and this acute, almost maddening human need.
Yes, and his psychological insight is incredible. It really makes you, the listener, consider the profound impact of hardship on our inner landscape.
So the wife's lament highlights that deep psychological toll. But Rumi, as he often does, uses these outward circumstances to reveal inner truth.
Hmm.
And from this focus on physical want, he then pivots pretty powerfully to a crucial warning about spiritual need, about the dangers of false guidance.
Right. He says one must become the guest of someone good, but then he immediately paints this stark picture of a deceitful figure.
Yeah, you're the disciple of a person who, through meanness, will steal all your gains from you.
Yeah,
How can he help you when he has no power? He gives no light. He'll darken by the hour.
it's quite a warning. And this false guide is like a half-blind doctor treating eyes. He pulls wool over them. This man just lies.
So connecting this to the bigger picture, Rumi's really stressing the importance of discernment in spiritual seeking, isn't he?
Absolutely critical. He describes these false claimants, they've stolen terms from Sufis for his speech.
Using the right words, but without the inner reality.
Exactly, making grand claims like, I'm greater than the saints, but having no light. And the danger is real. Rumi warns, once it is known that this man was depraved, his students will be too old to be saved.
Wow. That's stark. It's a serious warning about where you place your trust. True guidance is about inner light, not just fancy words.
It's about seeing beyond the facade, yeah.
But then Rumi introduces this fascinating paradox, doesn't he? He mentions this idea about sincerity somehow transcending
Yes,
misguidance.
that's where it gets really intriguing.
He says, occasionally we see the opposite. From falsehood, some disciples benefit. With a sincere aim, they may reach their goal, though a mere body they had thought a soul.
Mm.
And he gives that beautiful example. Guessing the Qibla. In the dead of night, God heard their prayers, though they did not guess right. Does that mean the path itself matters less than the seeker's intention?
Precisely. Or maybe not less, but differently. This point is really crucial for you to consider. Rumi, he's a master of paradox, right?
He is.
He isn't contradicting himself here. He's revealing a deeper layer of truth. It's not just about the external form or the guide, it's about the purity of the seeker's intention.
So even if the outward form is wrong,
An inner sincerity can open a channel to divine grace. It just underscores the immense power of a pure heart. It suggests that, true spiritual progress often depends more on how you seek than what you seek.
that's quite something. Divine mercy meeting us even in our honest mistakes, if the intent is true.
Exactly.
Okay, so bringing us back to our Bedouin couple, their argument, it started about money, but it quickly morphs into this deep philosophical debate.
It really does. The husband tries to counsel his wife, suggesting, why keep on seeking wealth? Most of our life has passed. We'll soon be dead.
He's trying to give her perspective. The wise don't think of gain and loss like you, for both are like a flood that passes through.
And he points to nature. The doves, nightingales, falcons living joyfully without such ups and downs, they're God's family, whom he supplies.
Right, he argues, the grief inside our breasts is worthless nonsense, mere fog and dust of our wind-like existence. A very stoic view, almost.
Mm-hmm. And then he introduces this really powerful idea. Each suffering is a piece of death, no doubt. If you know how to, cast that portion out.
And he even reminds her, when you were young, you were more satisfied. Now you seek gold, then you were gold inside. He's really trying to shift her whole way of seeing things.
And this is where what really comes into play for you, the listener. The husband's words, they resonate with a central Sufi concept. Contentment in poverty, or poverty's pride.
Okay, tell us more about that.
Well, in essence, he's trying to shift his wife's focus from external lack to internal abundance. It's not about, idealizing being poor.
Right, not romanticizing it.
No, but about discovering this immense inner richness and contentment that's completely independent of what you materially have or don't have. He's asserting that true wealth is spiritual, not material.
So embrace detachment from worldly outcomes like those animals he mentioned.
Exactly. It's a radical redefinition of true wealth. He's urging her to cast out that portion of death, the suffering caused by attachment.
But the wife, she is just not having it.
Not at all. She explodes.
She screams, "Image is what you adore. I won't endure your stories anymore. Don't spout pretentious gibberish to me. Look at your own state now and feel some shame."
Ooh, yeah. She accuses him of hypocrisy, saying, you've only just looked up its definition.
Burn. And she throws that powerful metaphor at him, comparing him to a snake charmer using God's name for tricks, but who's also caught in his own spell. You see your own spell, but now look at mine.
Such a raw, honest moment. It really exposes that gap between theory and lived experience, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
And it's a brilliant moment of self-reflection forced onto the husband. Her sharp critique, even though it's born of frustration and suffering, it holds a mirror up to his own potential arrogance, maybe.
Yeah.
Or his lack of embodied truth. It highlights that talking about spiritual truths is one thing.
But living them, especially in hardship, that's another thing entirely.
Totally. And Rumi's telling you, to question our own perspectives. To recognize when our own internal state might be twisting what we perceive. Like he says, you feel so giddy when you spin and whirl. You see the house spin, but it's you, my girl.
Wow. Look inward before casting judgment or, offering advice you haven't lived.
Precisely.
So the husband counters then, reiterating poverty's pride and offering that deep insight. Our perception shapes reality.
Yeah, he uses that analogy of the colored glass making the sun appear blue or red.
Right. And then he brings in that profound statement from Prophet Muhammad. I'm like a mirror beer, God's clean to perfection, Indians and Turks both see here their reflection. So, if the prophet is this perfect mirror, what's Rumi teaching us about how we see ourselves in the world through that kind of lens?
Well, what Rumi's teaching us here is, I think, a profound truth, and it's absolutely key for you to grasp this. Our inner state determines how we perceive the world, and even how others perceive us.
Who?
The true spiritual guide, like Muhammad in this quote, is a pure mirror. They reflect back each person's own inner reality. So it challenges us to look within and, purify our own lens.
To recognize the colors we see are often projections of our own internal glass.
Exactly. And the husband reinforces this by saying, try being poor a day or two, you'll see twice as much richness in this poverty. Again, that radical redefinition of wealth,
Suggesting detachment unlocks inner riches.
far surpassing any physical comfort.
Yeah.
It's about finding wealth within lack, paradoxically.
Now, after all this fiery debate, the story takes a really fascinating turn. The wife, after all her fierce opposition, she eventually softens.
Yes, she comes to his side with this complete self-negation, crying, I'm more your dust than your beloved bride. I'm yours in soul and body, totally. If you say cooked, I'll say all the way through.
It's such a profound act of submission, it completely transforms the dynamic. But it's interesting, Rumi initially calls the wife's vulnerability a woman's snare. That seems contradictory, especially when you link it to humility and compassion. Can you unpack that?
That's a crucial point, and yeah, Rumi, master of paradox, right? Who often uses conventional language to flip our understanding. The snare here, I don't think it's about manipulation in a negative sense.
Okay.
It's more about the powerful, subtle influence of emotional intelligence, genuine surrender, and the kind of wisdom that comes from adaptability. It shows that true strength isn't always brute force or rigid intellect.
But rather,
Rather, the capacity for profound empathy and yielding to a higher purpose. It highlights this deep spiritual principle. True strength often lies in humility and adaptability.
like that saying he quotes from the prophet.
Exactly. Women all control. Intelligent men, those who have a soul. But stupid men rule women, for they're crude. It's not about literal gender roles.
No, of course not.
It's about the quality of tenderness and compassion prevailing over brute force or, rigid intellect. It signifies that wisdom can yield to softness, that even perceived weaknesses, when embraced with sincerity, can guide us to higher truths.
So the conflict, the raw honesty, it actually leads to a deeper surrender from the wife. And the husband, despite his earlier quite rigid stance on contentment, he then agrees to go seek livelihood. He sees his wife's passionate opposition as a sign from God, a divine directive.
Yes. And he even expresses shame for his earlier rigidity, saying, I have become my lover's foe. How did I kick my own soul in the head? It's a remarkable shift.
From both of them, really. And this leads us to that crucial allegorical turning point in the story.
Yes, the husband's shame, his newfound flexibility, it's absolutely key.
Yeah.
It shows that sometimes divine messages come through the most unexpected channels.
Even arguments with loved ones.
Right. It's a powerful lesson in humility and, listening. His willingness to change course, to admit his own blind spot, it prepares us for the next symbolic act.
Which beautifully illustrates divine generosity and what a true spiritual offering looks like.
Exactly. It's a turning point, not just for the Bedouin, but for our understanding of Rumi's whole message here.
Okay, so the story takes this really symbolic turn. The wife, having softened and surrendered, now suggests a path for him to gain favor with the Caliph.
And the path involves a gift.
Yes, take a jug of rainwater, their most precious desert possession, as a gift. And she advises him, this jug's our body, so it must contain all of our outward senses' bitter rain.
Preserve its water from impurity, so to the sea the jug might find a way, and thus take on its nature too one day. Wow.
Powerful stuff. The Bedouin, full of conviction now, wraps it carefully, sets off, and his wife prays for its safe arrival. What's the profound meaning woven into just carrying a jug of water?
Oh, this journey with the jug is incredibly rich, symbolically, especially for you, the listener, to contemplate. The jug represents our limited knowledge, doesn't it? Our individual self.
And the rain of our experiences.
Exactly. The accumulated rain of our experiences, often mixed, as she says, with the bitter rain of worldly impurities or attachments.
So the instruction to preserve its water from impurity
Is a call to purify our senses, our intentions, to refine our inner state. And the sea, well, that's the boundless divine, the ultimate reality.
Right.
The aim is for our finite jug to merge with and reflect the infinite sea. It's a classic Sufi metaphor for fauna, spiritual annihilation of the self, and ultimate union with God.
So true worth comes from connection to the source, not the vessel itself.
Precisely. It's about offering our whole imperfect selves, our jug, to the divine, hoping to be transformed by that connection.
So the Bedouin arrives at the magnificent Caliph's court. Needs are met there for everyone. Muslims, infidels, the fair, the hideous.
Like sun and rain. For all, not just the virtuous, it emphasizes the universality of this divine generosity.
But he's carrying this jug of desert water, completely unaware that the mighty Tigris River sweet as syrup, flows right past Baghdad, an endless source of fresh water.
The irony is just palpable, isn't it? He has no idea.
None. And Rumi then gives us that powerful line, munificence needs to be begged as well. What's Rumi conveying there, especially given the Bedouins' ignorance of the river?
Ah, this is such a beautiful twist. It means that divine generosity, like the caliphs, it actively seeks those who are in need. It wants to give.
Like a mirror needs someone to look into it.
Exactly. Just as a mirror is sought by those who wish to see their reflection. Beggars, in this sense, they become the mirrors of God's munificence.
Yeah.
It completely flips our usual understanding of giving and receiving.
So needing and asking opens the door to grace.
Yes. And the Bedouin's ignorance of the Tigris, it highlights such a common human predicament. We often cling so tightly to our small, precious jugs, our understanding, our possessions.
Unaware of the vast, boundless ocean of grace right beside us.
Exactly. We carry our meager offerings, oblivious to the immensity of what's freely available. Rumi captures it perfectly. The world is a jug which you can stop. Knowledge and beauty fills it to the top, but near the Tigris, that's a drop of rain, the boundless Tigris no jug can contain.
Wow. It's a call to expand our awareness beyond our little jugs. So the story culminates dramatically. The Caliph, showing incredible wisdom and compassion, accepts the seemingly humble, almost worthless gift.
He doesn't scorn it.
No. He not only fills the Bedouin's jug with gold, but then commands his servants to show the Bedouin the Tigris River on his way home.
And the Bedouin, seeing that vast, sweet river.
He's utterly overwhelmed. Shame, gratitude, it all hits him. He cries, "How did that sea of generosity accept my worthless present readily?" This feels like the real spiritual climax.
This is the ultimate moment of realization for you, the listener. The Caliph's action accepting the gift, then showing the Tigris it's a divine act of compassion and teaching.
It signifies God accepts our imperfect offerings.
Not for their material worth, no, but for the sincerity, the effort behind them. And then, the sight of the boundless Tigris shatters the Bedouin's perception of his own little jug as valuable.
Right. As Rumi puts it, the jug has shattered, but now water's poured. Perfection's what this shattering has restored.
And that shattering is the key. It's the annihilation of the ego, the limited self. It's what allows for true spiritual perfection, for union with the divine.
It's letting go of what we think we have.
Our self-sufficiency, our limited knowledge, to make space for infinite abundance, to connect to something vastly greater.
And Rumi just drives this point home with that famous story of the grammarian and the boatman.
Ah, yes, the classic.
The grammarian, full of worldly knowledge, intellectual pride, mocks the boatman for not knowing grammar, says, "Half your life's been wasted."
Very arrogant.
But then a storm hits, the boat's sinking, and the boatman asks, "Have you learned how to swim and keep afloat?"
And the grammarian has to admit he hasn't.
To which the boatman retorts, "Grammarian, your whole life have been in vain. We're sinking fast. What good now is your brain?" It's such a powerful, almost unsettling metaphor.
It really is.
It really makes you pause and think about what we're truly prioritizing, doesn't it? Are we just collecting grammar when we really need to learn how to swim?
Exactly. And that perfectly summarizes the central theme of this whole deep dive. Grammar represents worldly knowledge, intellect, external forms are jug. It has value, sure, but it's limited.
And swimming.
Swimming, in this allegory, represents effacement, that spiritual annihilation we talked about, the ability to surrender, to be carried by the sea of mysteries. Rumi emphasizes not grammar, but effacement's needed here.
It's not dismissing intellect.
Not entirely, no, but fundamentally shifting our focus, moving from just accumulating external knowledge to undergoing internal transformation.
Okay.
Ultimately, this whole story shows us that our struggles, our perceptions of wealth and poverty, our search for guidance, it all leads to one profound truth. True fulfillment comes from recognizing our own smallness in the face of divine abundance and embracing the shattering of our limited selves to connect with that boundless ocean of reality.
So prioritize inner transformation over outward stuff, especially when life gets rough.
That's the heart of it. Learn to swim. Don't just study the rules of grammar.
We've certainly journeyed through Rumi's Masnavi today, witnessing these profound lessons hidden in what seems like a simple tale: a Bedouin, his wife, a jug of water.
Yeah, we've explored boundless generosity, the real dangers of false guides, the incredible power of perception in shaping our reality.
And that ultimate wisdom found in humility, in self-effacement, in that shattering. So maybe something for you to consider. What jug are you holding on to today?
Yeah, maybe some piece of knowledge you pride yourself on or a possession you cling to, maybe a rigid belief about yourself or the world.
Are you perhaps unaware of that vast, boundless Tigris flowing right beside you, that ocean of grace and potential that's always available?
What might it mean for you right now to allow your own jug to shatter, to let go of what you think you need to hold on to so tightly?
And instead experience the limitless water of divine grace that Rumi insists is always present, just waiting to flood your life with true perfection.
It's a powerful thought to sit with.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Rumi's timeless wisdom.
Yes, thank you. May these insights prompt you to look beyond the surface, always, and discover the hidden treasures within your own being.